A driver who killed a cyclist in a hit and run in Boulder last year was sentenced to 18 years in prison yesterday. The former owner of a now shuttered barbecue restaurant in Denver has pled guilty to federal fraud charges. And taking a live look over in Power Field, looking all ready to go for the Denver Summit FC's home opener. I know I'm excited about it. You're excited about it. Good morning. I'm Janelle Finch. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll get a check of your forecast with Weather Impact Team meteorologist Carly Cassidy in just a moment. But first, a federal judge has ordered a pause in the acquisition of 9 News and other stations by Nexstar, the parent company of Fox 31. Last week, the Trump administration approved the move. Lawsuits filed by Democratic attorneys general, including Colorado's, and DirecTV said the deal would lead to higher costs for consumers, along with newsroom closures and the loss of journalism jobs. Nexstar has said the deal will help broadcasters compete with tech giants. A temporary restraining order in the DirecTV lawsuit, orders Nexstar to stop any efforts to combine stations or terminate employees of Tegna, which owned 9 News until last week. Nexstar had previously said that multiple stations in the same cities would be combined. The judge ordered that stations owned by Tegna prior to the transaction must be maintained and operated as independent, ongoing, economically viable, and active competitors. On April 7th, the judge will hold it on a hearing on whether to further block the integration process. Yesterday, the CBI announced it has identified human remains found in 2024, bringing resolution to a 10-year-old homicide case. The CBI identified him as John Cizek of Newark, California. He was killed back in 2016. Cizek's body was found at Deer Creek Campground in Park County 2 years ago. 40-year-old David Little is suspected of killing him. When officers arrested him back in 2016, Little had his ID, credit cards, and RV. Officials say it's a relief to finally solve a case after so long.
It's for the answers, for the public, the family. That's what we do. The forensic sciences is all about bringing justice and bringing answers. And so that's exactly why we're doing it.
Shortly after being arrested, Little died by suicide while in custody at the Jefferson County Jail.
Let's take a look at your weather for this morning. Had a beautiful sunrise earlier, had some cloud cover pass on through, and we'll keep that mix of sun and clouds as we get going throughout today. It's a little bit on the cool, chilly side. Yesterday, much cooler, but today still starting that way, and then we start to warm things up. 36 degrees, how we're starting things off this morning across the metro. 30s for a good portion. In the high country, we got some 20s, had a few teens earlier, and already 54 in Grand Junction. We will continue to warm things up pretty quick. That high pressure system that takes back over. We've got this downsloping wind coming out of the southwest. So here we go for this afternoon. A beautiful day to get outside. 70s, 80s for most. We got 50s, 60s in the high country, and then 70s and 80s along the western slope as well. We already have a little bit of that wind here for this morning, mainly down to the south along the I-25 corridor, and here out towards the east about 20 to 40 miles per hour. So put all this back together. We've been talking a lot about it already throughout this month. It's that high fire danger. So that is back today with that red flag warning. We'll keep this around as we go throughout tomorrow, also on Monday, but Tuesday we are going to switch things up. So we'll talk about that change in the weather pattern in my full forecast.
Thanks so much, Carly. Congresswoman Diana DeGette barely made the Democratic primary ballot last night. The 15-term incumbent was within a few votes from party insiders of not appearing on the primary ballot. She needed 30% of the vote in last night's 1st District Democratic Assembly. She received just shy of 33 when faced with more progressive candidates. DeGette has represented Colorado's most reliably blue seat in Congress for nearly 30 years. The primary is set for June 30th. 2 verdicts in 2 days this week held major social media companies accountable for harming the children that use sites like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As those companies pay out millions and public perception of their business models are changing, a mom from Colorado says she's finally feeling validated in her years-long fight. Our own Jennifer Meckles has an update to her story we first shared 2 years ago.
Wednesday was not a celebration for Lori Schott, but
it was a good day.
It was the kind of day that made a difference. After a jury in Los Angeles said, yes, Meta and YouTube were responsible for harming kids.
But it was validation that we knew what was going on, that we finally had our day in court, that big tech has to be accountable for the design of these platforms, and the world needs to know.
She traveled to LA from her home in Logan County, Colorado, to share her story with other parents outside the courthouse.
All of us parents there have lost children. That's not a victory. It'll not bring Annalie back.
Her daughter, Annalie, was just 18 years old when she died by suicide. Only after her death did her family learn about the troubling content she consumed on social media.
And the world didn't know. Parents didn't know the impacts of social media platforms because it was a very hidden world. No oversight, no regulations with these tech companies.
Though not a formal plaintiff in this LA case, Lori has joined a high-profile group of parents trying to turn their nightmare into change. Present at the trial, speaking across the country, even lobbying lawmakers.
And you come home and you're still empty-handed and your child's still not there. And I'm looking out the window right now, Jennifer, seeing where she's buried, going, that little girl has changed the world with all these other children that are gone. It's an overwhelming feeling. It's not justice. It doesn't bring her back, but I know that I'm protecting, Annalie is protecting your child and people that are listening and my grandchildren. And
exhausted? Yes, but tireless, because Annalie's story is now starting to make a difference.
To think that her little story and her short time on this earth is moving mountains right now, I'm very proud of her.
A driver who killed a cyclist in a hit and run in Boulder last year was sentenced to 18 years in prison yesterday. 41-year-old John Wilkinson, a well-known member of the local cycling community, was hit and killed in May of 2025. Dante Johnson was behind the wheel. He was on parole at the time. 9 News Investigates found errors when he was assessed as low risk to reoffend 6 months before the crime. A lower risk level often results in lower levels of supervision. Last month, the Colorado Department of Corrections committed to re-evaluating the risk levels of more than 1,700 parolees after a 9 News investigation found a systemic problem. A tap room in Nederland that was destroyed in that massive fire at the Caribou Village Shopping Center is reopening in a new spot. Very Nice Brewing was one of 21 businesses that burned in the fire back in October. Months later, their new tap room will start serving up beer today starting at 12 p.m. It's in the Vault, an old bank building. It's also home to another business that burned in the fire, Brightwood Music. The cause of the fire is still unknown. Firefighters said back in January that it wouldn't be determined before the summer. Today, history will be made at Mile High. Denver Summit FC will kick off their first ever home game there at noon. With 60,000 tickets purchased, the team expects to break the single game NWSL attendance record. The team is fresh off their first ever win against the reigning NWSL champion, and they're hoping to turn it into a streak. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez was at Mile High with how people around Denver are preparing to welcome their newest pro team, and for local businesses, a chance to show them what a Denver game day is all about.
Game day is usually big prep all week.
For bars near Mile High, game day usually comes in the fall.
We're the closest bar to Mile High. We're just 2 blocks walking distance.
But on the last Saturday in March, fans will be marching into Little Machine Brewery for Denver Summit FC's home opener.
We're expecting comparable crowds to a Broncos game, and we're preparing for it.
Megan Hunt is no stranger to game day and is working behind the bar tomorrow.
We're opening early. We're expecting a really big crowd. People are really psyched about it.
Yeah, well, I love supporting women's sports, of course. Everyone watches women's sports. My boyfriend actually got us tickets for my birthday.
Caroline Gribbins is what you call a true fan.
People want this, and I think it's another great thing that Denver has to offer.
Did I mention she's also working at the brewery that same day?
I'm going to the game before work, and then I will literally walk from the game over here to work afterwards.
Game day is back in Denver.
We'll be rooting for them from over here.
For the brewery and Summit FC, the climb starts now.
We'd be super proud to be a Summit bar.